You can pull it up when it comes down. I call this meeting to order. We will begin with the invocation by Councilman Tabor and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Rubin.
Lord, we ask that you just bless this meeting, Father God. You give us the wisdom, the knowledge we need to proceed for the parish, Father God. And we ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Tabor and Rubin. We welcome you to the Lafayette Parish Council meeting. As presiding officer and chair, I would like to announce the following. This is a public hearing. To address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out the speaker form to submit your information to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given the opportunity to speak again prior to the call of the agenda. Staff assistance is available if needed. Items for submission to the council should be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, seated to my left. When addressing the council, state your name and title for the official record. The 3-minute rule is in effect. The 3-minute rule is in effect. No debating or confrontational statements will be allowed. The front row to my left is for media only. Food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium. Please silence all phones and electronic devices at this time. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not Robert's Rules of Order. All documents with reference to meetings can be found on the LCG website. And finally, the council encourages your involvement in boards or commissions. If interested, call 291-8800. A couple of chair announcements at this time. Absent this evening is Kevin Nakant, District 2, who is unable to attend tonight's meeting. I would like to wish a happy Professional Municipal Clerks Week to Council Clerk Veronica Williams. Professional Municipal Clerks Week is celebrated during the first full week of May and is aimed at increasing the public's awareness of municipal clerks and the vital services they provide for local government and our community. And to add to that recognition, it is certainly always a pleasure to recognize one among us who has been duly recognized by her peers. Veronica Williams recently, our council clerk, was selected to serve as Public Relations Officer for the Louisiana Municipal Clerks Association. And the good news continues in that Lafayette was selected as the host city for the 2022 convention site. So congratulations, V. We are all behind you, and the best of luck in your new role.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, President, and all the citizens of Lafayette, I'm really just so proud to make this next announcement. And I'm certain it's old news at this point, but it's great that we had two major announcements yesterday by SafeSource. The development of two new manufacturing facilities for personal protective equipment in the Broussard area. This announcement, along with the previous announcement by Amazon in Carencro, our economy certainly is given a big booster shot as a result of these new developments. And so we're very proud of all those who have engaged the leadership that it took to bring this to the Lafayette, greater Lafayette area. And again, just a very resilient community that we have. We are one, and I'm proud to make the announcement here officially that these enterprises are going to be in our greater area. So congratulations and thanks for the leadership and to all those who played a part in bringing these businesses to our area. And that concludes my announcements. Council announcements. Oh, don't see any. You feeling okay tonight? Okay, then, Mr. Mayor President, we turn to you and for any announcement that you have at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to everyone who took the time to join us. It is very pleasing to see such a big crowd. We don't always get that, especially at the earlier meetings. So for everybody that took the time to be with us, whether you're filling out a blue card on a specific agenda item or waiting for what we call open mic, where it's an item off the agenda item or the agenda, just know that it's very appreciated. Without your feedback, we as elected officials wouldn't be as in touch as we should be. So just know how much we appreciate that and that it's never taken for granted. So thank you. Also, Madam Clerk, I also share in the chair's congratulations, and we're appreciative. I'm really appreciative of the coffee that you put back there, but I know that your work, that is nothing from what you do on a day-to-day basis, especially your staff, and you guys are always just professional and there when we need you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Only other announcement outside the executive report is had a great weekend. Some of you guys may have been out there at Brown Park to announce the first ever Greater Lafayette Little League. We had over 700 kids, both softball and baseball, sign up. That was huge. I'm very excited about the improvements that were made to Brown Park, the park over in Carencro, and a few other parks that we had on the list. But I will tell you, if you've been out there recently, just know that that is only the beginning. Very proud of Hollis Conway and the director and all the staff and the hardworking maintenance personnel that we have. We do live in a very blessed community, and it's in that department, Parks and Recreation, we say this all the time, it's the only department that we have that the success, or maybe not so much success, really depends on the community at large. And I was very, very motivated to see how many people volunteer, not only our firemen, our police officers, but just the volunteers to go out there and coach these young warriors, these softball players and baseball players. It's very heartwarming, and it doesn't go unnoticed. In addition to Little League, we do have pony leagues that have been in existence for quite some time, in addition to the already existent Lafayette Little League. So that's a lot of sports being played post-COVID, and we're very excited about that, but could not do it without the community. So thank you so much. Mr. Chair, we have the budget to actual comparison of major parish funds for March 2021 preliminary. Not seeing any questions of the council. All right, we have also a very special person to Lafayette, Ms. D, and I don't have to give you too much of recognition or introduction because I know that you're going to introduce these three wonderful schools and probably have a little bit to say, but as you are walking up, we're going to recognize the Cleanest School Contest winners, and we have some certificates, and we're just thankful for all that you do.
We really appreciate it. The Cleanest School Contest is a lead-up to the Cleanest City Contest. I'm a past president of Lafayette Garden Club and chairman of the Joint Committee of Lafayette Garden Club and the City of Lafayette, the Cleanest City Committee, and they're coming Thursday. Mow your yards, clean your yards. If you don't have a yard, go buy one. Get somebody else's. Clean up the town. The judges are coming. We worked all day on the 27th, and it was difficult because some of the schools were so close, it was just a fraction of a point different. But the cleanest elementary school in the parish is Dusson Elementary, and accepting is the head custodian, Greg Oribo, and Principal Connie Price Fontenot.
All right. Want to call all three and then we'll take a picture?
Oh, yeah. And the middle school winner is Lafayette Middle School. Principal is Tia Trahan. And the high school winner is Como High School. my children's alma mater. Ms. Renee White is the principal. If you'll come up, the mayor has some certificates
And I
for
have
you.
my head custodian here also, Rain Sullivan.
Oh.
Yes.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Come on.
Let's go. Josh.
Y'all can go right up front. Look,
closer.
Craig.
Come close to me, man. Take your mask off.
Y'all get the best
Hey,
shot.
hey, hey. Maybe, bub.
I'm gonna give it to Mr. Randy, my head custodian. There you go.
Show your face. Show your face. Show your face, man. Come on. We're in. We're waiting.
Tell you what, let's scoot over here so we can get these guys in. Y'all mind scooting over here?
Get in tight.
Perfect, let's do it. There we go.
I think Como is the best school.
All right, all right. Behave yourself.
And I forgot to tell you, not only do these schools
Yeah, we introduced.
excuse me. Not only do these schools get a recognition from the mayor, they get a monetary award from VPBA as well as Matt Stoller with Parish Proud. So it pays to clean up.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One, oh,
My garden club members are back there.
yeah, that could have came in the picture. That could have come in the picture. Well, thank you, Ms. D, the Garden Club. Appreciate all that you do for our wonderful city and parish. And thank you to our contestant winners and all the schools that participated. No one loses in those efforts, so thank you. Also, Mr. Chair, we have one other item. Councilman Tabor did a really good job, and all our councilmen do a good job of connecting with their constituents. But he brought up several questions to our Public Works Department, brought us in, we had a meeting, talked some issues through over the phone. And some of our residents may be from the Baquet Road area, I'm not sure. Good deal. Go. How many? All right, just a few. Just a few. Now, look, this is good. Hey, this is why we have this, okay? So we do have our director, Chad Naveau, if you can make your way up here. So Chad's going to give a little update. We did have some things, it was good timing. We had a few things scheduled, but because of the councilman bringing it up to our attention, he was able to reevaluate. I think you went out there again today, if I'm not mistaken. So there are some updates, and I just want to again reiterate, everybody here, everybody looking out on TV, watching in, tuning in later, this is part of the process, and we do we work hard to make sure it's objective, and we have lists and all that, but nothing beats human intelligence, the human intel. So making those calls and getting us out there to evaluate, it does help. So thank you. Hand it over to Chad.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Councilman. So yes, I did get to go visit Baquet Road, and of course, most
Chad,
people
excuse
here-
me.
Excuse
Get that mic closer to
Sure,
you.
okay. I think everyone here knows we're getting ready to do a project. It's a maintenance project where we're going to do an overlay and reconstruct the road base. And a lot of questions came up recently about widening the road, making it safer. And so I went out and looked at it myself, and we did see some areas of concern near the little bridge south of Louisville Road. It's very narrow, and obviously I even witnessed a car coming one direction, stopping to allow another car to go across. I mean, that's obviously not something that anyone would desire driving down a two-lane road. So I'm here to tell you that we do want to make it safer, make it more comfortable, and we're not going to do the project without trying to get at least 18 feet of pavement, which is probably a little more than what is there now in some areas, particularly by the bridge. So we're going to change the culvert on the bridge. It's a drainage problem as much as it is a traffic issue because it's rusted out and it meets all the criteria. And we certainly would want to do that before we invest a lot of money putting a a repaired road surface. So we're definitely going to do that, and we're going to address some of the shoulder issues because as much as I can tell you just a general knowledge, a lot of those roads in that area are 18 or maybe even less. We've recently overlaid many of those roads. We've been working more to the north and east, and now we're getting to Brockay Road. So what we're doing there is not any different than what we're doing on those other roads in the area, but we do acknowledge that there are some shoulder issues that I can see where it might be perceived as unsafe, and of course, crossing the bridge is certainly a concern of ours. So to answer your question, about when we're doing it, June 3rd, we're bidding the project. There's about 15 roads included in the project, and of course, the contractor works through those roads one at a time. It takes about 6 months to get through that amount of work, and I'm going to push this one to the end of the list so that we can do the prep work, whether it's doing some drainage work, improving some shoulders where we have those limited road widths, and we'll put the road in a position to be, at best, meet the minimum required widths, I'm sure, which was maybe established back in the day when the road was built. And I think it's over time, in some areas, the erosion has kind of eaten away at the edges of the road. So we're gonna repair that in those real sensitive areas.
All right.
Mr. Tabor, you have a question?
Yeah, Chad, well, thank you for all you did on the project and getting it going. So you're saying pretty much we're going to be at 18 the whole way. Now, that's new to me about the bridge. When we went out the other day, last week, and looked at it, we had a few honks. I don't know if they were telling us to get off the road or you're just appreciative of out there. But anyway, so we are changing that culvert that all rusted out? Okay, that's...
Yeah, I got with the drainage department, and these guys are going to work with the public works department, and we're going to work
Because
together.
that was one of the big bottlenecks was those handrails,
That's
those
right.
railings on there, and that's going to be widened.
That's correct. We're going to add, the pipe we've installed is going to be a little longer, and in some cases, we can even remove guardrails. If you get the clear distance, and it is a traffic engineering question, that's going to be looked at, and if possible, I'd like to get rid of the guardrails. But again, it has to extend out far
Right.
enough to be safe.
And again, to me, that was the worst, when we look at that was the worst spot right there with that bridge. And,
It is.
Matter of fact, one of the neighbors came out and just said, almost every day there was a mirror being knocked off right there. So hopefully we're going to get that issue solved and widen it. Like you said, most of them are 18 foot out there, the roads now. So it just looks bottlenecked down when you go through that area. So again, thank you, and thank you for Public Works. Mayor President, thank you.
Thank you.
Chad, is the weight load on that bridge, is that an issue at all? Or with the new culverts, will it sustain what we need in terms of the weight?
It's going to be posted, I'm sure, if there's not any signs out there now.
You see what they have now? Yeah.
We're going to post whatever the rating is for the road. We're going to have that probably posted.
I guess where I'm going with it, I know we've got to get emergency vehicles, especially those big, heavy fire trucks.
Yeah.
And certainly it will accommodate that weight of that truck.
I would assume it's been like that for 25 years, so we haven't had any problems. But and under the condition that the culvert is in now, we want to change it out, even though I know it's backfilled with fieldcrete to give it a lot of structural, capacity, but it's rusting at the bottom, which is not really good because of the potential for erosion and things like that. So it needs to be changed, and we'll certainly post the road for the proper bridge rating.
And I appreciate that, and I think probably the current condition, we are jeopardizing the traversing of that with some of the heavy equipment. So it's good that we are going to upgrade the piping and make it a safer passage.
It's going to be an improvement to what we have now.
Good.
To answer your
Appreciate
question.
it. Okay. Thank you, Chad.
Good.
Again, I'd like to address everyone out there that came to speak. You're welcome to stay and speak, but we are working on it, and as you just heard, and again, you're welcome to stay and speak, but we are listening. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing us that time. And again, thank you to everyone that took the time to call their councilman and also to join us here today. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing the time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Ordinances for final adoption. This is a public hearing, and speaker sheets are available, excuse me, for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Cindy, please read.
Parish Ordinance 14, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and adjusting the amending tables of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of the Animal Shelter Fund prior year fund balance in the amount of $901 to delete 1 receptionist position and 1 clerk 2 position in the Animal Shelter and Care Center Division of the Office of the CAO.
Need a motion? Second.
Motion.
It has been moved by Councilman Tabor, seconded by Councilman Rubin. Any council discussion? Not hearing any. I turn to you, Ms. Williams. Any public comment?
No, sir.
Let's vote.
District 1,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5? The motion to adopt is approved. Parish Ordinance 15, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council declaring the Cooley Grange Ile-de-Con Flood Control Project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary rights-of-way and movable property and other property rights requisite to the construction of said project, either on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary.
Motion and second. Been moved by Councilman Tabor, seconded by Councilman Rubin. Any council discussion? Not hearing any. Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Let's vote.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 1? The motion to adopt is approved. Parish Ordinance 16, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council declaring the Cooley Mine East Flood Control Project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary rights-of-way, immovable property, and other property rights requisite to the construction of said project, either on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary.
Need a motion second? Been moved by Councilman Tabor, seconded by Councilman Carlson. Any council discussion? Not hearing any. We turn to Ms. Williams, public comment.
No, sir.
Let's vote.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Parish Ordinance 17, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council declaring the Oak Springs Flood Control Project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary rights-of-way, immovable property, and other property rights requisite to the construction of said project, either on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary.
Need a motion second. Been moved by Councilman Tabor, seconded by Councilman Carlson. Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Parish Ordinance 18, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette Mayor President to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government and the City of Youngsville concerning the surface improvements to Decon Road.
Need a motion second. Been moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Tabor. Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
District 1?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved.
Joint ordinances for final adoption. This is a public hearing, and speaker sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. Again, the 3-minute rule does apply. Ms. Cindy, please read.
Joint Ordinance 18, 2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council, amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and the capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of fund balance in Fund 550 in the amount of $175,000 and appropriating within the Public Works Department, Environmental Quality Division to replace a front-end loader.
Need a motion second. Moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Tabor. Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? District 1?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Joint Ordinance 19-2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council, authorizing the Lafayette Mayor President to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government, the Louisiana Department of Treasury, and the State of Louisiana concerning Act 45 of 2020, Second Extraordinary Legislative Session of the Louisiana Legislature, and amending the fiscal year 2021 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing reimbursement revenues from the State of Louisiana Department of Treasury in the amount of $500,000 and appropriating within the Public Works Department for road infrastructure improvement projects.
Need a motion second? Moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Tabor. Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Joint Ordinance 20-2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council suspending until October 1st, 2021, the enforcement provisions associated with the requirement that Class A restaurant conditional permit holders comply with certain provisions of Chapter 6, Article 1, Section 6-1 of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Code of Ordinances.
Need a motion second? Been moved by Councilman Rubin, seconded by Councilman Tabor motion, seconded by Councilman Carlson. Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved.
Announcement of vacancies on boards, commissions. Cindy, please read.
A vacancy exists on the Lafayette Waterworks District South Board as of June 1st, 2021. This is a one-year term. Applicants must be district residents. Individuals wishing to submit a resume for the above volunteer vacancy must be a registered voter and a resident of Lafayette Parish. Yearly ethics training for all appointees is required as its financial disclosure under certain circumstances. Resumes are to be forwarded to Veronica L. Williams, Clerk of the Council, P.O. Box 4017-C, Lafayette, Louisiana 70502, or email to bclafayette@lafayettela.gov no later than noon Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, with appointments to be made at the June 1st, 2021 regular meeting of the Lafayette Parish Council. Resume submissions are public record.
Appointment by council members, mayor, president, and other direct appointing authorities. Cindy, please read.
Area mayors appointed Chad Hanks to the Lafayette Economic Development Authority for a 4-year term, effective September 1st, 2020. Area mayors appointed Chris John to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board for a 4-year term, effective March 1st, 2021.
Thank you and congratulations. Introductory ordinance. Cindy, please read.
Parish Ordinance 2020.
I'm sorry, hold on. I jumped the gun. I need a motion and second from the council to introduce the ordinances items 16 through 18 in globo.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Tabor. I'm sorry, Rubin. You got it right? Y'all are too soft over there.
Who made the second? Which one?
Tabor, Councilman Tabor. Rubin. All
Reuben,
right.
okay.
Come on, guys, speak up speak up so I can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay, Cindy, please read now.
Parish Ordinance 20-2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by transferring $4,850,000 from council reserve and appropriating within the Public Works Department Capital Improvements Division for additional funding needed for new drainage projects. Parish Ordinance 21-2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council declaring the Hapsburg Lane Bridge Replacement Project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary rights-of-way, immovable property, and other property rights requisite to the construction of said project, either on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary. Parish Ordinance 22-2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette Parish Council declaring the building or structure located at 2227 Carmel Drive, Lafayette, Louisiana, owned by Antoine Albert and Lula May Castile, care of Gerald J. Block, attorney appointed, to be dilapidated and dangerous to the public welfare, and ordering the condemnation of same.
Any council discussion? Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Then I call for the vote to introduce in global items 16 through 18.
District 1,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
The motion to introduce in global is approved.
Comments from the public. Comments from the public on any matter that is not on the agenda. This is a time to speak about topics relative to the parish of Lafayette that are not included on the agenda. No debating, confrontational statements, or personal attacks will be allowed. Please, let's keep it professional. For efficiency and to allow everyone the opportunity to speak, questions should be submitted in writing to the clerk of the council, Ms. Williams. We have others who are wanting to speak tonight, so you are reminded that we do have a 3-minute rule that is in effect. Ms. Williams, the first speaker, please.
Mr. Chair, we do have 3 speakers tonight, the first of which is Travis Taylor, and he will be followed by Gus Barra. You could speak at the microphone. Thank you.
So we'll get cued. So, again, my name's Travis Taylor, and again, I tried to script this a little bit, so hopefully I'll be there. So I've owned property in several locations in Lafayette and Lafayette Parish, including property on Brockay Road. So next slide. So this is the intent, to voice concern about the current conditions on Brockay Road. It's pretty obvious. Not to complain, but to better understand the challenges that you guys have. And in fact, I'm sorry I didn't address, thanks to the council and the mayor for allowing the opportunity. So to understand better the challenges that you guys face, and then to reach resolution, or at least understand the resolution as it meets the standards in the municipal code. And that's important. And so I sent questions ahead of time, next slide, just to better understand and prepare. So I spent the last 25 years of my professional career understanding and interpreting federal, state, and local regulation, and it's difficult. And nobody that has that resource typically understands it completely. So I get where we are. So we got the answer to these questions about 10 minutes before we came in. Thanks to Joseph for providing that. Outstanding response from him, by the way. But it's clear that they meet expectation. They're difficult to understand, and it's not all in there. So just next slide. So this is a basic private road in Lafayette that does meet the code. Next slide. Another road in Lafayette. It deviates from the code in that the code specifically requires us to be about 22 feet across. It's a little, so there's a deviation. There are some deviations. Next slide. However, Brockay Road, I took over 50 measurements. I took close to 100 using a steel tape going from the existing footprint as best described. And so in all those measurements, our best average was less than 15 feet. And again, in the response, that's 3 feet less than what's required by rural roads from DOTD. So that's a fair deviation. Next slide, please. You can see the result. A standard pickup truck, because that's what drives on those roads, exceeds the lane width. Next slide. 2 trucks, one of them is going to be off the road, and that's common. Next slide. So why is the road narrower than it's supposed to be? And that's a good, legitimate question. Next slide. Redundant, by the way. So road surface, next slide. Next slide. You can see how the road narrows. There's a trend on narrowing. And so as we go through this, next slide, that's the bridge and next bridge. So the erosion, we're talking about 8 inches from the road path. And the response I got was, when there's an incident, we respond to it. Let's don't respond, let's prevent, let's get ahead of it. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good information. Ms. Williams, next speaker.
Next speaker, Gus Barra, and he will be followed by the final speaker, Lydia Romero.
Okay.
I'll advance it for you.
I want to thank this council for allowing us this opportunity, and especially Mr. Tabor for not only hearing us, but listening. On behalf, well, let me get back. I want to describe Brocade. Brocade is 1.6 miles long. It runs north-south, about a quarter mile to the west of University on the north end of Karen Crow. I have the same pictures, I think, as Travis, pretty much. First picture, please. Back. First picture, please. First picture you're looking at is our bridge. Like Travis said, like Mr. Tabor said, he observed the very thing that happens every day. We operate this bridge like a single-lane bridge. More mirrors have been lost in this bridge than they have on the north end of Karen Crow. There's been a lot of mirrors hit. Been people get out, got cussed. I had to go do a deposition at the post office. The mail lady hit some guy, and he was suing the post office. And all I did was say, we hit mirrors all the time. That's all we do. You see the pit in the road? Next one, please. Now, this rail, we have no idea what it does. I don't think it would stop anything from going in. It wouldn't veer any vehicles like the current rails are designed to do. It's just there. It's a feel-good thing. That's all it is. Next slide, please. This is, and I'm more on the south side from what Travis showed y'all. I'm on the south end of this conversation about the road. You can see right here on the left side, the road is falling into the ditch. That was our 18-foot wide road. Next slide, please. There's the right side. Look how close the ditch is. Next slide, please. Now, this is my tape measure. Can you pan in on that? I think you're going to see exactly what Travis was just saying. I put my tape measure across the road. Well, anyhow, let me just say this. That road, there you go, is 15.5 foot right there. My tape is on the other side of the asphalt on the last overlay. Next slide, please. This in here, I'm basically showing you that the original is 18 foot. That is ditch to ditch, 18 feet. Next one, please. Next slide. Right here, can you pan in on that? This is northbound on Brocade, turning onto Louisville. Louisville is our main street to get to University. As you can see, the narrow width of the roads right there, we have to operate this corner like a three-way stop. And you have to lay back this way quite a bit to allow people to turn in so you don't hit your fenders and all. That's a trail that probably went through there, but that road is badly scarred up. One gentleman in the house already went in the ditch right there.
Okay, sum it up, sir.
Oh.
It was pretty quick. Good job. I think we got the message.
But anyhow, what I did want to say that, and we didn't get to the ones that I really wanted to see. I wanted you to see the school buses, how wide they are compared to the road. And I have been behind, first time I ever wanted to be behind a school bus. But I've been behind them before where they intersected each other and the right rear wheel was clean off of the ground completely, because they were so close to the edge of the road. We need more than 18 feet. 18 feet is good if you have 2 feet of shoulder on each side. 20 foot would be perfect for us. But I've stood here once before asking for this. I would ask y'all to at least table any requests for any additional subdivisions back there. That was my original presentation some years ago.
Okay, so
before you can maybe perhaps consider doing it 20 foot.
we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Good points. Next speaker.
Final speaker, Lydia Romero.
Hello, my name is Lydia Romero. Set all my notes. All council members here are bound by oath of office and personal honor to support the Louisiana Constitution, which declares that the purpose of government is to preserve the rights of the individual for the good of the whole, that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property except by due process of law, and every person shall be secure in their person from invasions of privacy. The Constitution also makes clear no person shall be denied the right to observe the deliberations of public bodies except in cases established by law. And also to support the laws of the state of Louisiana, such as the Open Meetings Law, which states it is essential to the maintenance of a democratic society that public business be performed in an open and public manner, and that the citizens be advised of and aware of the performance of public officials and the deliberations and decisions that go into the making of public policy. And that every meeting of any public body shall be open to the public unless closed pursuant to certain statutory exceptions, such as executive sessions and during a gubernatorially declared disaster, with limited necessary functions permissible via electronic means. This is the first month in over a year that I've been in this auditorium and been able to personally observe and participate in my government with this council and the city council. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's because I've been personally excluded from open regular meetings of the parish council and city council for not surrendering my right to privacy or to liberty. I notified my district representative, Mr. Brian Tabor, of the violation to my rights and that required me to surrender my privacy to enter the building and attend council meetings. I also notified Mr. Tabor that this violates Louisiana open meetings laws. I also notified all city and parish council members of the violations, hoping someone would respond. No one did, until a few months later when Mr. Tabor forgot what my complaints were about and mentioned that to me. So then I resent everything I'd sent him before. This council has violated the Louisiana's Constitution by requiring individuals to surrender their constitutionally protected rights to liberty and privacy to enter open public meetings. This council has violated Louisiana's open meetings laws by denying individuals entry to open public meetings for not surrendering their constitutionally declared rights. During this time that I've been excluded from these meetings, you have raised my property taxes. You have changed the time that this council meeting begins. I came here a month ago. By the time I got here, the meeting was over. I came here with a sweat on my brow and the marks of my work on my arms and my face because I can't go home to get cleaned up. And 2 weeks ago, I came here.
Ms. Lydia, please sum up. Your time's up.
This council has violated our rights, and I want my 5 minutes back because while I was excluded from these meetings, you took away 40% of the time that I could speak to this council and address their violations of the law.
Thank you, Ms. Lydia.
No
Ms.
other
Williams,
speakers,
any
Mr.
other speakers?
No other speakers, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Mr. Rubin.
Thank you, Chair.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes. You're on.
Go ahead, you're on now.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Appreciate you guys coming in from Cancro to voice your concern. One of the things that I want to address is we appreciate Joseph. Joseph, a lot of you guys, when y'all call into the council office, that's the voice that you're listening to right here, this young man right here. Even though I give him a hard time, but and I sweat it most of the time, but I think he's doing a great job. And for all of you guys that call in, I'm pretty sure you'll say the same thing too. You're always greeted no matter what kind of day he's having, no matter how much we're harassing him. He always stays professional, and he's always looking to try to find a solution to whatever problem that you guys are, or should I say situation that you're dealing with. He's always the first one to try to address it. and give you an answer to it right then and there. So for that, Joseph, not only from them, but from the council as well, we'd like to thank you for your hard work, sir. Now, you can buy me lunch for saying that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilman Tabor.
I just want to thank you all for coming out. The ones that had jump drives, if y'all want to make a copy, and I'll get
Joseph,
it.
did you
got-
save
you
it?
got that,
Joseph
Joseph?
saved it to the laptop.
Okay, so we'll get that, and they'll be able to look at the pictures. Yes. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's why we'll finish it up. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all again for coming out.
Any other items, council members, to come before the body? Meeting adjourned. Pete,
I'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask Councilwoman Cook to lead me in prayer and Councilman Nakhan to lead me in pledge, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to encourage and engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our community. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, council members.
Madam Chair.
We welcome you to the Lafayette City Council meeting. As presiding officer and chair, I'd like to announce the following. This is a public hearing. To address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out the speaker form and submit it to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given the opportunity to speak. Staff assistance is available if needed. Items for submission to the council must be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica L. Williams, seated to my left. When addressing the council, please state your name and a title for official record. The 3-minute rule will be in effect. No debating or confrontational statements will be allowed. And finally, all documents with reference to the meetings can be found on the LCG website. Council announcements. Item number 7, discussion item, procedure for awarding contracts. Councilmember Glenn Lazard is requesting that this item be pulled. More information is being gathered, and this item shall be placed on a future agenda. I'd like to wish a happy Professional Municipal Clerks Week to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams.
I didn't put that on there, but thank you.
Professional Municipal Clerks Week is celebrated during the first full week of May and is aimed at increasing the public's awareness and the municipal clerks and vital services they provide for local government and their community. So, Ms. Veronica, thank you. Thank you. I know you're an incredible resource, not just for us, this community locally, but across the state. I know many municipalities reach out to you for your guidance and your expertise. So thank you for all you do. Would you like to say a few words?
No, just thank you, and thank you to the council, and I appreciate your support. And I have an awesome team.
All right, chair announcements. I do not have any. Councilmember Nakhan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make sure everybody was aware that this Saturday, May 8th, we're bringing, I should say, the Acadiana Center for the Arts in association with MacLeff Incorporated is bringing back the Students Arts Expo. They're having outdoor live activities from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock this Saturday, May 8th. It's free to the public. It's a very family-friendly atmosphere. I encourage all to be there so these students from grades K through 12th grade can show their beautiful artwork and their impressions and get some inspiration from the public. But please, if you can, show up. Also, that the second Saturday Art Walk will be coming up the Saturday after that. I just want to make sure everybody was aware. But try to make the Students Arts Expo this weekend, please. Thank you. It's downtown, Acadiana Center for the Arts, and they'll be having some downtown activities and tents. But once you go to the center, they'll direct you. This Saturday, May 8th. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to acknowledge an event that occurred on yesterday. We had a community walkthrough in the Macomb Visa area, and we were joined by members of the City Marshal's Office, the Lafayette Police Department, and the Sheriff Department. And I simply want to acknowledge City Marshal Thomas, Sheriff Garber, and Police Chief Glover for their participation in this event. And I made the comment to them, and I'll repeat it here, even though it's only been a very short time, that Chief Glover has been in office and Marshall Thomas has been in office. From what I can see, my initial impression is that this is probably the best working relationship that I've seen between all three of those law enforcement agencies in some time. And I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing so far in terms of their cooperation amongst the agencies and their collective dedication to the community. Just want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm not seeing any other council announcements. Moving on to the executive mayor president's report. Budget to actual comparison from city funds 2021 preliminary. Mayor?
Oh, you took my line. Budget to actual comparison of major city funds.
There it is. Took the words right out of your mouth.
And you did, literally. That's okay. That's efficiency.
We're so in sync.
But I also echo, Madam Chair, your kind words for Miss Veronica. I don't know where Miss V is, but we also echo that and our awesome staff. So thank you so much. Also, Councilman Lazard, thank you for also joining that community walk. I thought that was a lot of unity there, so we appreciate that. And then also over the weekend, Madam Chair, and to the public, an outstanding event over at Brown Park, which is the Greater Lafayette Little League, kicked off their first season. So first season here ever. Councilman Lewis is there. We appreciate your attendance and your support. And this is really important because, you know, we're going post-COVID, and we had over 1,400 children sign up total for baseball, softball. But this new opportunity was just over 700 kids, both baseball and softball, with this Little League experience. We still have the Pony League in certain parts of our parish, and we still have Lafayette Little League in the central part of our city. So these are all additional opportunities in Parks and Recreation. Just very, very proud of the community, very proud of our Director, Hollis Conway. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to resolutions. This is a public hearing. Speaker forms are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Cindy, will you please read?
City Resolution 8, 2021, a resolution of the Lafayette City Council approving the appointment of Jeffrey Stewart as director and Gregory Labe as alternate director to the Louisiana Energy and Public Power Authority Board of Directors.
I've got a motion by Cook, second by Lewis. Council discussion. Not seeing any. Any public comment? All right, let's go to a vote.
District 1? Yes. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved.
Moving on to reports and discussion items. Cindy, will you please read?
Budget allocation schedule.
All right, Councilman Lazard, you requested this, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is on the agenda as a discussion item, obviously. And the reason it's placed on the agenda is because obviously this is an area of heightened public concern, if you will, in terms of how we are allocating costs respectively for various departments and services between the city and the parish. And at last year's, as we were going through last year's budget hearings, we spent a lot of time on this issue, trying to figure out how we came up with the allocation that we were using last year. And it was brought to my attention that with every administration, there has been a different approach, if you will, in terms of how this allocation should work. And one of the conversations we had last year was, and I see we've just been provided some information, it's new to me, that I guess that describes, I guess it purports to describe how the different administrations have approached this. I guess that's what this information does, but we just received it, so I really don't know. But in any event, we spent a lot of time last year talking about this, and there didn't seem, to me anyway, to to be any particular reason as to why we were using a particular allocation or a particular formula. And one of the things that I was left with, or at least I was of the impression, that sometime between the time we finished up last year, adopting last year's budget, and preparing for this one, some conversations were going to be held as to what was the best way to approach this and hopefully come up with an amicable solution, if you will. Because one of the things that I wanted to avoid was us spending time when we're actually doing the middle of the budget process trying to figure out whether or not we were doing it in a fair and equitable manner. And unless I'm missing something, those conversations haven't been held. So it seems like we're going to be back in the same position this year that we were in last year, trying to figure out if the approach we're taking is proper, fair, and equitable. So it's here for a discussion item, and like I said, there didn't seem to be any particular rhyme or reason as to why we were using a particular allocation formula last year. And obviously last year was my first year going through the budget process. So I was kind of learning on the fly, if you will. But still, I was somewhat disappointed that we didn't have any particular rhyme or reason as to why we were doing things a certain way. And like I said, I'm bringing it up now because I don't want us to find ourselves in the same situation we were in last year, where we are spending an extensive amount of time while we're in the middle of actually going through the budget, trying to figure out what the proper remedy is. So it's on the floor, I guess, Madam Chair, for discussion.
Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chairman, excuse me. Yes, I'm kind of echoing similar things that Mr. Lazard is speaking about too. And I guess just getting this information right now, are you prepared to maybe, you want to talk about it?
I'm happy to talk about it, but first let me just tell you what I gave you.
Do you mind introducing yourself for the record?
Oh,
Thank
my
you.
name is Lori Toops. I am the CFO of the Consolidated Government. What I gave you, this item was put on the agenda. I was not told about it. I was not sent a list of questions, but I was told to be prepared to discuss it. So I thought, well, what do I do? So I knew you had a committee meeting last week. I went back, I looked at the committee meeting, and I said, oh, I need to go prepared to answer those questions. So that's what this is. It's a result of questions that were asked at the committee meeting, but none of this is new information. All of this is from old budget books and allocation schedules published in the budget books. Maybe required further narrative to answer people's questions, but it certainly is not new information. So I wouldn't just throw new information at you like that. And Mr. Lazard, I couldn't agree with you more. Last year in April, I do recall sending an email saying, hey guys, it's April. If this is going to be talked about in the budget process, now is the time to do it. Because the budget, even though I said this the other day at the committee meeting, this is not material in the size of this government. It's less than 5% of the budget. When you look at the reimbursements, it gets less than 3%. This is not a large item in the budget process, but people have become very passionate about it. And I guess maybe somebody up above, too, is passionate about it. But, and people want to talk about it, even though it's not that material. So, anyway, last year, I tried to get that conversation going. We had a lot of hang-ups last year. I'm not going to blame it on anyone or anything in particular, but we didn't get it off the ground. We do need it. And what the allocation schedule is, the mayor-president is allowed to introduce any budget he wants to introduce. That's his right. He's given that privilege in the charter. The city-parish allocation reduces a couple of line items in the budget down through that calculation. It gets to those line items. So while the city-parish allocation schedule is not required to be in the audit, it's material so you can see how it got to those particular line items in the budget. It's not required. It would be foolish if any CFO tried to omit it from the budget. So that's why it's in there. But at the end of the day, the budget's adopted by the council, and those line items are approved by the council. The problem is that if you wait till the end of the budget process to start maneuvering and making all these changes, one body of government may not have enough funds to meet the needs of the other. In the past couple of years, I heard councilmen say that we had to reduce the budget because the parish didn't have enough money, and I'm telling you, that is not the truth. We reduced it because the city didn't have, we needed to use less fund balance in the city for our bond rating. The city is the one that has all the outstanding debt, and the city's bond rating is very important in order for us to continue our bond program. I can go through some of these things in here, kind of shows, quickly kind of shows you how we got to where we are, and it shows you how different mayor presidents have treated this differently over the past. In particular, I hope to address some of Ms. Cook's questions.
Can you move your microphone a little closer to your mouth with the rain being so loud, please? Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask you just one question I had was in budgets past, like in Joey Durrell's budget, there was a list of deficit by the...
I got it. I got you covered. Got it all here for you.
Is there a reason why it wasn't listed in just... Because I mean, I never saw it when I got on the council. It was not listed in the Robidoux budget. Was there a reason?
Because it's not there, and I'll explain that to you right here. So, you know, the mayor president, when he presents that, he has the liberty to present that information. He's given you all the details so you can see it. But you can see this began in 2012-13 under the Durrell administration. Right. We looked at it. He wasn't happy with the way that the allocation was done, and we looked at possibilities to change it. At that time, when we did the budget, you can see on page 1 of 9, the little red numbers there. This is from his budget message, where he states that this is still in progress. He says, I have it highlighted right there in the middle of the page. In this new analysis, in parentheses, he states, which is still underway and subject to revision. So this was new. It was just starting in the budget process, and we did not complete it that year. At the time he did this, we thought that all of the administrative services would be allocated by population. After running it by the cost consultants, they flat put the NICs in a couple of those calculations, but there were a lot that remained by population. And so that was in 2012-2013. And he mentions in 2012-2013, this is the first time where you'll see it mentioned that there was a shortage, but the work is still in progress and we didn't finish it. On page 3 of 9, that is where we finished the process that year, and he addressed it. And you can imagine, as I know you felt and you mentioned at the committee meeting, it's not acceptable to have a deficit. And he states at the bottom of this page here, we had to find a way to make the city whole by having the parish pay the city back. Later on, he says, "We have made the city whole by taking 2 parish funds and using them to fund the operation of public works. This frees up city general fund dollars, thereby keeping our reserve account healthy." So on that city parish allocation schedule, and he was very clear to make sure we made these overall changes that year, but we wanted to make sure that people didn't accuse us of sweeping anything under the rug. He made sure that I added extra performers in the budget. We put them in the budget that year for the first year and kept them in the budget for several years after. And in those performers, you can see how the city general fund was paying for all of roads and drainage and getting a smaller reimbursement. Later on, when we did this transaction, the city general fund was no longer paying for the roads and drainage in the city. That is being paid by the parish-wide special revenue funds. That is how he offset the deficit that was in the city parish allocation table. And so if you went back to the 13-14 budget, you would see those additional schedules, and you will see in his budget message where he says, "We have made the city whole." So what you're looking at, and it's because you're not an accountant, I get it. What you're looking at on page 6 of 9, this is the first time in the budget book where you see that little calculation, and to me, that's a reconciliation. I have this here. I want to make sure it's not hiding in the budget, so I put this reconciliation on the schedule to draw attention to it. Unfortunately, not everybody really understood what it meant. The city parish allocation, when doing all these allocations by population, ended up in about a $5.6 million deficit. Under the Durrell administration, we said that wasn't acceptable. We have to cover that deficit. So that calculation at the bottom is showing you how we covered it. So we didn't just sit back and say, "Oh, there's a deficit, we're happy, move on." We had a plan for covering it, and it was covered in the budget process. It was covered by taking all the maintenance and operations, the salaries for roads, bridge, drainage employees, taking that out of the city general fund and moving that into the special revenue funds of the parish-wide special revenue funds where the millage money goes. So that saved the city general fund money. And it doesn't hurt to say it also helps secure our bond rating. If you recall, back at that time, the bond rating agencies were reevaluating and changing their models in which they rated general funds and city governments, and we had to make sure that we weren't using too much of our fund balance in order to maintain our bond rating. So this shifted those expenses to the parish-wide funds. So like I said, it didn't hurt our bond rating. So while you see that deficit there, this is covering that deficit. The deficit would have been there had we not shifted this money. So it was covered.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt? And I understand there's a deficit, and I think every year do we have a deficit. I guess my point about that is,
there's no deficit. There would have been a deficit had we not covered it through this other method.
In 2013 you're talking about?
Yes, in 2013-14.
Okay.
And it was covered each year thereafter under the Durrell administration using the same model. What we did, and if you look at this reconciliation, coverage of parish deficit, we included, well, first we had to look at the city taxes because you got to give the city 100% credit for all the city taxes. Then we looked at the expenses that were shifted from the city general fund to the special revenue funds, and at the end of the day, we were still $1.2 million short. So what we did in that budget was we took $1.2 million of the parish-wide millage money and spent that on capital projects in the city. It could have been spent anywhere, but it was spent in the city in order to coverage that deficit based on the city parish allocation plan under the Durrell administration.
Okay.
So it's covered. So to show you, another way to look at it is, and you know, I live this, I realize that. Y'all don't live it every day. So what I did is I took the 1213 city, on page 7 of 9, this long page, I took the 1213 allocation schedule, I took the Public Works section and put it side by side with the Public Works section from the following year, 13-14. And you will see in the 12-13, this is before we corrected what the administration at that time saw as a deficit, the city parish allocation schedule included almost $16 million of public works expenditures. And $16 million was being allocated. The following year, under the Durrell administration, when we changed the model, we shifted all those public works expenses to the parish-wide special revenue funds, so they were no longer being allocated. The allocation for public works dropped to $3.8 million. So that shifted those expenditures away from the city general fund. And that's just a comparison there. And you can see on the schedule for 13-14, normally an accountant wouldn't have all this stuff on a schedule with the zeros all the way across, but I wanted to draw attention to it. I wanted you to know there were numbers there last year and there are no numbers there this year. Other than, and I could have hid the rows, but I didn't think that was an appropriate way to handle it the first year of a change. I wanted to make sure that not only did we highlight it in the budget messages, we highlighted it on these schedules. So when the Robideau administration came in and they made the change, you can see in the budget message that is on page 8 of 9 on your attachment, there was just a little paragraph saying, hey, there's major changes in the budget allocation method. The allocations went primarily from population to tax revenue that was available for these expenditures. And so that paragraph was in there to draw your attention to the changes. So when you look at it, you know, not only does this schedule allocate administrative, my salary, Veronica's salary, there's a lot of things in these allocation schedules. The Durrell administration took the schedule one way, and the Robideau administration took it a total different way. So if the Durrell, and I kind of don't think that you guys would follow this route today based on what happened at last year's budget meeting, but if the Durrell administration's plan of cost allocation in 13-14 was the way you wanted to go, where you said the parish was $6 million short, where we said the parish was $6 million short, included in that $6 million, $1.8 million for city recreation, $557,000 for the city science museum, Cajun Dome transfer, $230,000. All of these things were allocated to the parish general fund. Based on what happened at last year's council meeting, I don't think you guys are going to do that. I don't think you want, last year you said you didn't want the parish to have control over recreation. So if you went this route, you would have the parishes vote on recreation, the science museum, the Hyman Center, city golf courses. So part of that $6 million shortage was the parish funding those city activities based on population. And I think that whole way of thinking has changed with the charter vote and where we are today versus where we are back then. The Robideau administration memorialized that in the changes that he made in his first budget, where he said that the parish wasn't going to pay any of those city expenses. So changing the allocation method away from population probably affected half of that deficit. The other half of that deficit was by not having the parish pay for some of these city functions. That was a large part of it. So I guess if I had anything to advise you, is looking back on what was done in the past might not fit your model today. I'd really start from scratch, decide, what it is. Right now, when Josh came in, he said, I want the parish to pay what it's supposed to pay, and I want the city to pay what it's supposed to pay. And if we got to cut somewhere, we're going to cut. We're not altering the allocation table, and that was the same instructions with the Robideau administration. If you go back and look, when the Robideau administration, when we made these changes, we did cut, and we cut some people that weren't happy, and there were some threats of lawsuit in litigation because of some of those cuts. So they didn't alter the allocation schedule to fit the money available. What they did was amend the budget to fit what the allocation schedule had as what was available. And some of the fund balances kind of got pretty low in those years. So I know you were perplexed about what happened to that $6 million, but the $6 million deficit really wasn't a deficit because it was covered another way under the Durrell administration. He said, if I'm going to have a deficit here, then I'm going to fix it here, and that's what we did. Later on, under the Robideau administration said, well, we're not going to have the parish put up any money for the Cajun Dome, the Hyman Center, city golf courses, the Science Museum, or recreation. We're going to use just city money for that. So that took a lot of the deficit away right there. And then the rest of the deficit probably was from the change in the allocation method, which at the end of the day, they both took two different routes, really two different routes. I mean, all over the place. And at the end of the day, they almost ended up in the same location when it came to the amounts transferred. So you can take any kind of route, and I think you're probably going to end up pretty close to where you started. So that's pretty much what I prepared to answer some of the questions that were asked at the meeting. I hope I helped you.
It was helpful. I probably could hear it all over again. But no, yes, it was helpful to some extent. I guess I appreciate what the mayor was doing with this budget as well in terms of separating to where city dollars are paying for city buildings, parish is paying for parish responsibilities. And I guess I would love to be able to take that one step farther in actually doing that in a budget presentation in terms of within the budget, we had a city budget, we had a parish budget of where those monies were going, and then we had the consolidated budget. So we have three separate tabs in our book to where we, for somebody like me who this blows my mind, that it would be easy, I think, for me and for the public maybe to understand a little better just what you're saying in being able to look at it. So I don't know if that's, I mean, I think it can be done. I mean, I think we're not far from that as far as, but I would love to see it presented that way so that we could follow the dollars because, we were told that there's paybacks from the parish currently now. The parish, through the years, the last 4 years or so, the parish would pay back some money to the city.
I would have somebody would have, I surveyed my staff. I thought they're keeping some secret books off to the side that I don't know about, right? Every one of my staff said they didn't have any records or any knowledge of that. But I would leave it open that if somebody knows of a particular project, we can go back and look it up. But to say that right off the bat, we're not aware of that. We bill the parish monthly for my salary, their salary, and the parish pays every month. In some cases, we do hold some bills on the parish side. That's payments to the volunteer fire departments. I make them wait till we get our property tax money in January. Some of the maybe district attorney payments, they have to wait. But regular monthly reoccurring bills, they're paid on time with parish money. So I'm not really sure where that's coming from.
Yeah.
But if you get an idea, let me know. We'll look it up. We're always happy to look that up. It kind of makes it even harder now that we have to give you all those monthly statements at the council meetings. So I can't imagine where that was done, but
Yeah.
I'll research anything.
I wouldn't know where to look for that either. I mean,
Right.
if you can't find it, I surely couldn't find it, so.
Well, I will tell you that under the Durrell administration, we said that this deficit was not acceptable, and we had to find a way to solve it. And, there was discussion, could we book a loan and take money later on when the parish has it? And then you can't do that. So we had to find a solution within that fiscal year, and that was what we did.
And I guess that's one of the reasons as far as, for those particular instances, tracking where the dollars are going to make sure that these dollars can be spent on this, or are they being put here? And I know you follow that. I know you are very diligent about that, I guess. But I also would like to see how we could follow that, so we could explain if someone says, well, those are city dollars, why are you spending it on this? And so if there was a way to make that clearer, that they weren't, city dollars were spent where they were supposed to be. I mean, I think we kind of uncovered that a little bit with the parish parks that's been going on for years with the city millage. So things like that I think have came to light. And
Well, I'll tell you this. I am not a fan of our budget, the way our budget is developed. Years ago, I wanted to change it when I was new over here, and it was brought to my attention that the charter says that we have to budget by department. I wouldn't budget that way. Maybe other governments budget that way, but we are made up of a series of dedicated tax flows. We have a certain set of money that we can spend on roads and bridges. We have another set on recreation. That's how I would present a budget. I would present it by fund, because that's how people vote on their taxes to be spent. And, it might require, well, of course, I have to come to every budget meeting, but it might require another director or another department to come to 5 budget meetings, and it might require more budget meetings. We try to cram a lot into the few budget meetings that we have. And maybe that's what we have to look at, expanding the number of meetings, budgeting by fund. I can still present a book by department to meet the charter, but when the money is dedicated for a certain use, showing a taxpayer, hey, this is the money you gave for drainage. This is the salaries in drainage. This is the transportation in drainage. And showing that money, to me, would be much, I think that you would see it. It's a lot easier probably for a layperson to understand it. When you hear 12 years, that 12th year, you're going to look at that budget book and it'll be an old hat for you. But right now, it's...
I look forward to that day.
Right now, I agree, it's not friendly.
Not there yet, yes. And employees, we share, LCG has employees, which are shared in departments across the board and paid out of, not out of, there's an allocation formula for that. And
so what we've done, what I've done really hard, what I've struggled to do over the years is reduce what's allocated. If it doesn't have to be allocated, we shouldn't allocate it. Even when it comes down to street lights, they told me it was impossible to do a street light inventory. I said, I'm not paying for them then. If you can't tell me where they are, I'm not paying for them. They did a street light inventory. Perfect. So we don't need to allocate stuff that we can direct charge. My salary, my time, the mayor's time, Veronica's time, that's always going to be allocated. Right. Public Works, 90% of Public Works is not allocated. 90% of Public Works is paid by those parish-wide special revenue funds. But you really can't see that the way the budget is.
So where's the other 10% comes from?
The other 10% would be some of the things that you do see, that $3 million that's left in the allocation table. The engineering people that work at the project level, those people. There's some people in Public Works that maybe work from a tax for city buildings. They handle the buildings and those things. But those aren't the drainage and the street crews.
So those funds come out of a different fund then?
Yes.
To pay for the other 10%, you tell me. 90% comes from those particular drainage funds, but then the other 10% will come from?
General funds.
Right, okay, so that's, yeah, and that's, I guess that's
a lot less.
Right.
Now, and I think it's easier to see.
What's actually 3% of our whole budget? When you say it's only 3%, what would be a dollar amount on that? It's like a couple of, is that 20 million?
Well, it depends upon, you look at the budget after all the capital projects are rolled in, it's a $1 billion budget.
Yeah.
So you're looking at
I was
30,
just curious what we're looking at, yeah.
30 million.
Something like that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know there's some other people that want to talk, so I'll sign off.
Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
Laura, you're saying that roughly 30 million is allocated?
No, I went back, I'm kind of looking at that right now. I'm having some schedules prepared. We have about in between 25 and 30 million that's allocated, but then we bill back money out. We bill it out to the library and other people, and they pay us back some. So at the end of the day, it's less than 25 million.
Okay, so I'm not as concerned with the amount, and I'm sure that everyone up here would agree with the statement that I'm fixing to make, that we're not as concerned with the amount itself as we are that it's done in a fair and equitable manner. So I don't think the dollar amount is really an issue for us. I don't think we've never made an issue of the dollar amount. My position is whether it's 5 million or 50 million, it still should be done fairly and equitably. The other thing is, so you're saying at this particular point, or over the last couple of years or so, that the parish is not operating at a deficit? Is that what I heard you say?
The parish is not operating at a deficit. The parish fund balance is not negative. There's two different, the city is operating at a deficit when they use fund balance. They're not operating at a deficit when they increase fund balance. So I don't know if you're talking about that or whether they're actually in a negative fund balance situation.
Well,
using more than they're taking in?
well, you know, the part about the city operating at a negative, that's hard for me to comprehend, and I have to admit, that's hard for me to comprehend.
It hasn't since I've been here.
But I thought that's what I just heard you say, that the city is operating at a deficit.
The city would be operating at a deficit if it used more than it had coming in. It has not done that since I've been here.
But I thought I just heard, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I'm just trying to figure it out and understand it so that I can be better prepared as we approach this year's, you know, budget cycle.
We budgeted.
Okay, so you're saying neither the city or the parish is operating at a, just clarify it for me, please.
Neither the city nor the parish is in a negative fund balance situation. Operating at a deficit to me means you're spending more than you have coming in. But if you have money in the bank, that's okay.
Well, right, because, and you're right, but because to me, the allocation table of 80/20 is helping to cover the parish, no? Because at the last budget I suggested changing that allocation to what I perceive to be a more fair allocation. And I suggested 60/40. And after much discussion, they said, you will bankrupt the parish if you change that allocation table. So I guess, does that allocation table of 80% paid for by the city and 20% paid by the parish,
is it covering?
Does that cover the parish from
having
being in a deficit?
I couldn't say yes to that.
Because we're talking about.
I threw a number out, but and 60/40 was based off of population, and that was decided whenever we split. And that's why I just threw that number out.
That's fair, because I was just saying, because the councilman mentioned that there was no rhyme or reason basically for what we did, and that's couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay, so.
So you had a rhyme or reason. I was just curious.
Mine was based off whenever we split. The original charter commission back in, what was that, the 90s, suggested that we do by population 60. It was not exactly 60/40, it was right around there. And so I suggested we should do by population or 60/40. And and that's what you and I spoke about, Mayor, and not saying anything I know you don't want me to say, is that my suggestion, whenever we talked about budget and what we would like to see in the budget, one of my concerns was making it, to me, a more balanced, based on population and taxpayer population allocation table. And that was my suggestion to you, and you said you would look into it.
And I think that's, look, that's not an unfair position, because
Right.
there is some objectivity there.
Sure.
I disagree with it, and as I learn, and Lori's schooled me up plenty of times and educated me, and especially when I realize how small of the budget we're talking about as far as allocation goes. But that's okay, it's worth looking into. Another approach that we didn't use last year, and I may consider when I submit my executive report, is actual use. So is for example, IS&T is 95% of what they do in the city of Lafayette? Well, maybe it would be more, it may be much more fair to do 95% allocation to the city and 5% to the parish. Public Works, as Nanette mentioned, the 10%, not the 90% that the parish is already funding and primarily in the city, but let's say the 10%. Even if we did the full 10% to the parish, that would be less than 20%, so maybe that would be fair. Maybe the staffs, I'm sure the council, I know that they keep good track of where their calls come from. I know my office does. Maybe we can track where the calls come from. If it's the city and it's more than, or if it's less than 20%, maybe the city should pay more than the 80%. So I am considering that, and I think that's a fair approach. I do believe that the last allocation did, based on the information I had, and you guys unanimously have voted for it, and I appreciate that. I think we all agreed that it at least put us in a position where the parish was paying for what it's supposed to pay for, and the city's paying for what it's supposed to pay for. But I'm open to any of these suggestions. I think the way that our jurisdictions, respectively, in the parish are set up, doing it based on population is not the most effective approach, in my opinion, to adequately appropriate. But I'm open to anything. So I love this discussion. I'm glad that we brought it up. But I was just sharing with you, there are other approaches that I'm taking because I want it to be the most fair that we possibly can. I think that's what you guys want to accomplish.
So, I still have the floor,
No,
right?
you still have time, and I didn't mean to interrupt. My
Okay,
apologies.
no, that's not a problem. So, just for point of clarification, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
And yeah, I made the comment that, so let me clarify the statement I made so that it's not misinterpreted, okay? When I say that there didn't appear to be any rhyme or reason as to how we came up with the allocation that we used last year, now let me clarify that. None was presented to us, okay, that I can recall as to why we were using that particular formula. So your statement, I think, is, I don't know what to call it, but anyway.
Accurate. That's what I would call it.
You'd call it accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you entitled your opinion, obviously. And obviously, we're not going to agree on that point, but that's fine.
I'm picking.
So none was presented to us, okay? And the statement was made at a budget hearing when I asked the question. And the response was, that's all they can afford to pay. I don't know if anybody else on this panel.
Is someone referenced that? Do y'all remember who said that?
Remember
I don't
that?
remember who said that.
Or not?
Yeah.
But it was said. So that's where I got it from. Okay?
That would not be an accurate
let me
or
finish,
fair
please.
way. Yeah, that would definitely not be a fair way.
Let me finish, please.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. Okay? So there's this rumor going around that I said whatever, okay? I was simply repeating what was said in a public meeting. Okay? And like I said, I don't know if my fellow council members remember that comment being made or not, but it was made here in these chambers. So that's where I got it from. Okay?
Let's, hold on, Mayor, we have Councilman Lewis, who hasn't had a chance to speak yet, so I want to honor him. Councilman Lizardi, you completed your comments and questions?
Well, yeah.
No, go ahead. No, keep going. I just wanted to make sure to get to Mr. Lewis.
So, Lori, so we talked about the Science Museum, the Hyman Center, and what have you, okay? So those things are exclusively city now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. So as far as for this year and the allocation formula that we plan on using this year, do you plan on or using the same formula that you used last year?
It'll be updated for the current numbers, but it will be, we will be allocating the administrative cost of the government based on the tax revenues available to pay the administrative cost.
So is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that another way of saying ability to pay?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
No, and that's a question. That's not a statement, that's a question.
No,
Okay.
when you're, and this, I think, where the Robideau administration got this, he's a CPA. I was going to say he was a CPA. No, he is a CPA and familiar with fund accounting and government. And we have so many taxes, and each one of those revenues are restricted, so I can't use that drainage money to pay my salary. I can't use the recreation money to pay my salary. So what's left at the end of the day to pay my salary? That was the allocation method that was used, and that's what's still being used today.
Okay. So my question still is, do we have any idea what the recommended allocation formula will be used for this year's budget?
You asked if I had an idea, and yes, I do, and it will be very close to what was used last year. Once we update it with the final audited total revenues and those things, it'll be somewhere around that 80-20 for most of the allocations that are used. We don't plan on changing any of them. I haven't been instructed to change any of them.
So there are many approaches out there. I do believe that the approach that you just described is extremely fair and reasonable, but it's not unfair to look at other approaches as suggested by the council. I don't agree with the population model, and I explained why. But the use model, in my terms, okay, the use model may be a more accurate term. I don't think anybody can argue with trying to get as accurately as possible this 3 to 5% of the budget to make it fair, in the sense that the parish pays for what the parish is supposed to pay for, the city's paying for what the city's supposed to pay for. I would not consider the use model per each department, by the way. I wouldn't do a carpet paint with a broad brush. I don't think that's the most accurate way either. But again, I have not formulated that. I'm not comfortable enough to provide an executive budget to the councils with that approach yet. But in full candor, that is another model, and I'll entertain any model that the council wants to suggest.
And I can tell you that you mentioned the cities might be paying more for certain departments than what we're currently paying now, based on what you come up with. And I have absolutely no problem with that. If we have objective material or information that's presented to us that says the city should be paying more than what it's paying for this, this, or this, I have no problem with it. None whatsoever. That was never the issue. The issue is fairness, equity, and impartiality. That's what it's all about for me. And the city should pay its fair share.
And so should the parish.
And so should the parish.
Good news about this discussion, it gives me more confidence that we're all on the same page, that we want to end up at the same place. So I appreciate this, and I appreciate you putting it on the agenda.
I'll yield the floor to Councilman Lewis, Madam Chair.
Councilman Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Laurie, one of your first statements you made when you came up here, you said that the mayor-president can introduce any budget he wants to, right? Well, who makes sure that it's a fair budget?
You, the council, y'all vote on it. I'm not going to let him I'm going to really try not to let him introduce something that's so far out there I can't explain it, because it's my job to explain it. But in the end, he is elected for that position, so that's part of his privilege, and it's in the charter that he introduces the budget. He doesn't adopt it. You guys adopt it.
But we adopt something that we have to understand, correct? Something that it should be.
I hope that I do my job well enough that you understand it.
You win a lot of awards, so I guess you're doing your
Oh,
job.
well, you know, I follow best practices.
We keep talking about the two things we talk a lot about, bond ratings. Always talking about that, the parish and then the city, from understanding what you said earlier as well, that the bond ratings, pretty much like Mr. Lazar was saying, that I had understood myself that the city doesn't have the funding. You know, that's what I sort of understand what Mr. Lazar was saying. But you're telling us something, not say different, but you're saying what you really meant. Okay, but the bond rating. Then also, we keep talking about the parish budget and the city budget. What about unincorporated areas? Where do they fit in there? The unincorporated areas.
Unincorporated area is part of the parish, just like the city is part of the parish.
I understand.
As a city taxpayer, I pay the parish-wide taxes too.
So where do they fit in as far as a balanced budget or not? They're just part of the city and part of the parish?
Someone living in the unincorporated areas,
Yes.
the tax money they're paying is represented in those parish funds.
So that shows that on the budget, when we get the budget, is you have a line item for that, or just put in the parish or the city, who's ever close? I'm just trying to understand how you fit it in with the city and the parish.
In the parish general fund, there's a revenue item that says parish general alimony. That revenue right there is paid by everybody that lives in the parish.
In the parish. And what happens to the city?
The city has
No alimony.
the city of Lafayette in the city general fund has a line item that says city general alimony. That might not be the exact title, but it's somewhere, something like that.
I never saw that, but I'm just asking.
It'll be in the city property tax, and it's in the city general fund, and only the people in the city of Lafayette pay that tax.
Only the people in the city pays that tax. Not the parish or neither the unincorporated areas.
Not in the city general fund.
Explain the bond rating.
Bond rating is like your credit rating. If you're going to go, well, I just bought a house, so you know you got to go get your credit rating to determine the interest rate that you're going to pay on your loan. In 2008, 2009, you may recall, with the downturn in the housing market, we had governments across this country that went bankrupt. And so the rating agencies started changing the way they looked at governments and the way they rated governments. They used to look at if it was a property tax bond. They used to look at the value of the properties in the parish. And if the values of the properties in the parish stayed stable, they gave you an A+ and said you got a good rating. Then when all those cities and counties across the country went bankrupt, the rating agencies said, you know what? We need to look at something more than just the property values. We need to make sure they have money in the bank. We need to make sure they're liquid. So they started looking at your general fund and your O&M money. What money do you have available off to the side to pay your note if the value of your property goes down? They wanted to make sure that you were liquid and had cash in the bank. So if we go to the rating analyst and we want to do a bond issue for city roads and bridges, and they look at our budget and they say, my gosh, Laura, you're spending $18 million more than you have coming in. Is this all on a one-time expenditure? If I say, yeah, I'm building an $18 million bridge, they're good, they're happy, because they know it's not a reoccurring cost. But if they see that I'm spending $18 million on reoccurring costs, then they know in a couple of years we'll run out of money, and I don't have that backup savings account to pay my bills if I have a problem on the back end. So they changed the model. I don't really agree with it because the governments that went bankrupt really had poor management to begin with. But you know, we have strong financial management, very conservative spending practices, but I don't really have a say-so in the way they choose to do our rating. I know what they're going to look at. They're going to look at liquidity in the general fund to make sure that we can pay our bills. When we had this freeze, they were calling me up. Hey, can you pay your bills? Can you pay your note? Like, well, yeah, of course we can, but anytime anything like that happens, they're calling up. And that's the first time in my career in government, these past 5 years maybe, that you get calls when you have events asking you if you're going to be able to pay your bill, so you know. That's the way the market has changed.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Vice Chair?
Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Yes, Laurie, I have one more question. Our budget hearings that are coming up, we have our separate city meetings, we have our parish meetings, and we have a couple of joint meetings for certain departments. You know, last year we had the issue with Parks and Rec being combined with joint, and we eventually kind of maybe addressed that. I'm concerned because I'm looking at what your information here is.
That's not from me. I don't set the budget schedule. I don't do those department meetings. That's not from me.
Okay,
That's from your office.
Okay, well, but my question is this. Community development is apparently a department that we consider to be a joint department. Within that department, we have the Science Museum, we have the Hyman Performing Arts Center, which I'm reading here is totally funded by the city. So I guess I don't want us to get into that situation where we decide as a city that we want to maybe fund the Hyman Performing Arts, maybe a little bit more, but we're sitting up in a joint meeting and maybe the parish doesn't agree with us, but it's our money that we want to fund for this particular city-owned building. So I guess my question is maybe not necessarily to you, maybe it's to what are we looking at? I know we've talked about community development and where we're going with that department, and so, we're having an issue again if that's the issue with city dollars funding something that's in community development that's being voted on by both councils. And we, look,
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
We can talk some more. I mean, I'm throwing that out there because
I think that's fair. But my thoughts are this. I believe the councils figured that out. You remedied that if it's only city funds, that only the city council would vote on it. If only parish funds, a parish council would vote for it. My recommendation to both councils would be to codify that. And if legal, unless legal says we can't, but I would recommend an ordinance, a joint ordinance that solidifies that position, because I think that gets us better centered on where we all want to be, where the city is paying for what the city is supposed to pay for and the parish is paying for what the parish is supposed to pay for, but it also prevents what happened in last year. Even though I'm giving you credit here, you figured it out without having that ordinance, but if you want to protect, in my opinion, if you want to protect that initiative, that thought, codify it into a joint ordinance. I think that would protect both councils with that.
Okay, thank you.
Or you can budget by fund.
Or you can, which is what the Hyman and the Science Museum.
They have their own fund.
Yes, exactly. So that might, that's why she's the CFO.
And I think the easier way is just they can't make any adjustments to those particular line items because it's 100% city. So we don't need to necessarily move them. They just know that it's 100% city. They can't move items from here to here. All right, Councilman Nakhan, you have the floor.
And I'm trying to wrap my head around all this, of course, and simplify it from my own brain. Just as far as revenues, we have city taxes, property taxes, and we have parish property taxes. The city property taxes are paid strictly by city residents, collected and brought into the city funds to pay for city projects. And it's dedicated money for city projects only, correct?
There's some undedicated revenue in the city, but it's for city purposes, city uses.
And that city property taxes with parks and recreation, the reason we were paying for parks that were outside the city limits is because the city owned those parks. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
We were responsible for the parks.
No, it was,
No?
when I asked the question,
But not anymore.
Yeah.
I know we got rid of them, but at the time, we were responsible for those parks, for the most part.
They were parish parks, but.
Not hot. Okay, so
But
the
they were
parish did
parish
kick in.
parks.
The parish kicked in for those parks at the time?
Rated to subsidize out of a city general fund to the tune of $3 to $3.5 million each year over 19 years.
Okay, so, all right. So, but that's been rectified?
That's correct.
That's finished,
That's been
okay.
rectified through the last budget, and we appreciate you, but also through the parish council working with other municipalities so that the money's not needed in the future.
So moving forward, that won't be an issue in Parks and Recreation. Now, the parish dollars that are collected, the parish property taxes, that's parish-wide. That's every parish resident pays that, including the residents of Broussard and Youngsville and Scott.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That money being taken in, some of that parish money is spent in the city of Lafayette, is that correct? I mean, for different things, because we're part of the parish.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that parish money spent in the city of Broussard, the city of Scott, and the city of Youngsville?
To a degree. But I will say that not nearly to the extent in the city of Lafayette.
And the city
And
of
that's- and
Lafayette.
look, that's
So we get the
historical
lion's share of
data.
that. So we benefit the rewards of that money. Okay. And that money being separated is basically that simple in some ways, is that the parish money is spent parish-wide. The city gets a lot of the allocations because of the parish projects through drainage and roads that are done through the parish monies, just by the way they're dedicated. And the city pretty much stays in the city. Now, the allocations are money that's not in those dedicated taxes that has to be paid out of general funds, et cetera. And in the mayor's comment, and I think pretty much Mr. Lazard was on the same page, was getting very objective with that. The use tax, basically based on use, it may be 95% city, 5% parish, but that's a double-edged sword. It could be 60% city, 40% parish. So it just depends on how it falls. So I think the use tax, from which y'all were talking about, y'all on the same page, that would be very fair when we get really objective about it. So I think we can simplify this moving forward just by showing us what's going on.
And some
Being
things
open
are,
with that.
and some things are easier to measure than others.
I agree. You know, IS&T, legal, you know, you can probably monitor those hours, time spent with that. Some things are a little harder, but I think that we can clarify this by being a little more open and honest and you know, open up the pages for us because we need help. We do need help. We don't have the knowledge you have of the budget, that's for sure, Ms. Tukes. And I want to thank you for your time. I think you did a very good job explaining it tonight.
Well, I hope that helped. And if you have any specific questions, you know, most everything, I can find a reference in the budget book or the audit to show you where it is. That's my job, and I'm going to know where it is. Not everybody knows where to find that information, but I'm happy to lead you to it and point it out.
Councilman Lazard, you have the floor.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of reiterate that point that you just made. It would certainly simplify it for us and for the public, general public. The only other question I had was, in terms of budgeting, in terms of actually accounting, if you will, is it logical or feasible to have 3 separate accounts? A city account, a parish account, and a joint account? Because I guess my thought process is that we decide at some point what the city share is going to be for these joint departments, what the parish's share is going to be. We take that money, deposit it into a joint account. So when it comes down to handling those matters, we halfway home. You know, we've already taken care of, you know, is that logical or feasible or something that's ever been given any consideration?
Awesome. 15 or 16 months. So you're asking a very specific question. I can see those wheels turning. So while you're getting your thoughts together, let me offer something for everybody to think. I understand the intent. If it were that easy, we should do that, okay? But what my appreciation of the budget is, it's just not that easy. So you have dedicated funds and you have undedicated funds. Dedicated funds, whether it's millage, and those are replicated in the budget. And you can see those. Fund 401, for example, and 101 may be appropriated differently through the sales tax of the city. So what we're talking about is purely undedicated funds, and to the extent that that is possible, I'm open to any of that. But and maybe it's because I'm new, so I've only learned this way of the budget. I'm actually getting comfortable with it, but I do this every day. I don't do what she does every day, but I'm familiar with looking at specific funds, and I can see the difference. If it's a tax, if it's a city millage, for example, it goes to a certain place. It's not commingled with parish money. If it's a parish tax, it's not commingled with city money. This undedicated funding, even that to an extent, I would say completely actually is not commingled, but maybe you can talk on that, because I think the intent behind, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Councilman, but I think the intent behind his questions coupled with conversations you've had, maybe that would help with that discussion. Could we do that?
In my mind, I mean, we have that now.
Yeah, that's what
We know what's allocated, and then we know it's not allocated. So we can split it out and separate it now. Having a bank account just for that is, I don't think is necessary. I think what's necessary is to decide on this allocation schedule.
Oh, we all agree with that. It's just something I thought about. Like I said, you know, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know if it's logical or feasible. It was just a thought.
Councilor, are you referring, that was a good point. I know you couldn't hear Sid, but are you referring to, I don't think you're suggesting revenue coming in if it's only city putting in one physical account, because you can't do that, because you have dedicated funds for dedicated purposes. But I think maybe what Councilwoman Cook was mentioning, 3 different budget books. You have a city budget, and I wish we could too. That way, we could still keep the funds, I think, but I don't know if we can. My appreciation is because it's a consolidated budget. The funds will still be there. All the funds in that big old book would still be the same funds, but you just have 3 separate books. So if we can't do that legally, and legal can opine on that, then to the extent we can, we should get as close to that intent as we possibly can. We all agree with that. But I do think the funds, if you just follow the funds, you'll see where the dollars are.
And we built some flexibility into the new budget system to be able to do new things with the budget. But all that would go back to budgeting by fund and not by department. And then you'd have it.
So
it's not going to be easy on me. It's going to be a lot more work on me. But I think that you and other people will be able to see the flow of the money and how it stays. Road money and bridge money is spent on roads and bridges. It's not spent willy-nilly, but when you have it all blended like that, it is harder to see it. It's very complicated. I studied the budget book before I came here and interviewing for this job, and I couldn't tell you what city fund balance was.
So, Councilman Lazard, are you requesting that?
Well,
of the 3 different, she said it's going to be hard, but she can do it. And I think we all do want transparency. Both councils, I'll speak for the parish because I know they want transparency. The administration wants transparency. So I think it requests.
I'm not going to ask Lori or the administration to do anything that's not feasible or that's not logical. I guess kind of paralleling what Lynette's comments, just trying to find the easiest way and to make this as transparent and as clear as we can make it. Whatever that entails, that's my request.
And Councilman, just to add, I do, and I just look at it a little differently, I do think we balance per fund. Take 101, for example, and going back to the very surface level discussions that were had just earlier. We can't spend more money than we have coming in, or we can't spend more money that's in the bank, excuse me, I'll take that back. So that is a fund being balanced individually, but I understand the intent, I support this intent, and to the extent that we can, we're definitely going to work ways, and I'm telling you, we're going to work ways to get closer there. I don't know if it'll be this budget cycle in full candor, but I do like this discussion and this approach. Any way that we can be more transparent, or it's not transparent, it's going to be the same funds. It's going to be the exact same funds, but I do think it'll be easier to follow.
That's all, Mr. Lazard? All right, with budget coming up, Mayor, at what point do you think you'll be ready to, I know you're working on the budget, meeting with the departments, meeting with Lori every day, all day. At what point is sort of the deadline for council members to continue throwing their suggestions at you before you submit your executive budget?
Live for executive budget. Y'all know, exact deadline?
We need to pretty much have everything, in order to meet the statutory deadlines by having it introduced, we need to have decisions made early June?
I was thinking June 15, June 1st.
Before the books are printed, because I guess what I don't want is council members to come to you, is I want to get as much done on the ahead of time before the books are printed. That way you say, oh, that's a great idea. I'd rather you just put it in the book.
Well, okay, so if you guys recall, about 3 months ago, I did give you a deadline, and I appreciate those who did submit your request, because there was a reason for that. It was a method behind my madness, and that's so we could get ahead of this. You have sent your requests. I do appreciate that, taking them in consideration, still taking them in consideration, still taking in consideration what the federal government's doing, because we just don't know. And because I'm going to wait until the very last minute until I know or have a little more clarity, and Lori and Sid and I constantly go back and forth with our communication. So my recommendation, anything that you guys ever have, send it to me. If it's past the deadline, I'll tell you, look, it's past the deadline. Maybe it's not for this fiscal year, maybe it's the next fiscal year, or maybe we can do a budget amendment if it's a fiscal situation or request as opposed to a policy request. So I never want you to not submit something for consideration. But there may, and it's coming pretty close if you have anything that affects this next budget. Because while our deadline is June 1st, June 15th, my internal deadline to give to our departments is probably in the next week or so.
All right, so the next week or so, make it a priority, council members, to meet with the mayor.
And thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no. To get with Lori, get your questions answered. As we've said over and over again, this is not an easy budget. This is very unique. And please, please, please meet with her, make an appointment, sit down with her, the administration, to get your questions answered. So that's all I have. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it. Moving on to ordinances for final adoption. This is a public hearing. Speaker forms are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Cindy, will you please read?
City Ordinance 49, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by decreasing anticipated revenues in the amount of $149,500 in law enforcement-based specialist program grant funds from the Office for Victims of Crime within the Lafayette Police Department.
I have a motion by Nakhan, second by Lazard. Council discussion? I'm not seeing any. Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. City Ordinance 50, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by moving the remaining budget amount, $59,202, from Replace Train Center Cascade System to a new project to install a compressor system at Station 8.
I have a motion by Lewis, second by Cook. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. City Ordinance 51, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by reappropriating the amount of $60,000 from Bridge Repair City into the budget line of Pinhook Bridge painting.
I have a motion by Lazard, second by Nakhan. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comments?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's go to a vote.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. City Ordinance 52, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital improvements budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to make appropriations adjustments within the Utilities Department.
I have a motion by Cook, second by Lewis. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? Yes. The motion to adopt is approved. City Ordinance 53, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operations and maintenance budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to make appropriations adjustments within the Utilities Department.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nakhan, second by Lazard. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 1?
Yeah.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. City Ordinance 54, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council declaring the Dugas Road Electrical Distribution Systems Project a public necessity and authorizing the acquisition of the necessary land, servitudes, easements, rights-of-way, and other property rights on an amicable basis or through the use of the expropriation process if necessary.
Can I get a motion and a second? Motion by Nakhan, second by Cook. Council discussion, not seeing any. Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1? The motion to adopt is approved.
Joint ordinances for final adoption. This is a public hearing. Speaker forms are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Cindy, will you please read?
Joint Resolution 18, 2021, a joint resolution of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and the capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of fund balance in Fund 550 in the amount of $175,000 and appropriated within the Public Works Department Environmental Quality Division to replace a front-end loader.
I got a motion by Lewis, second by Cook. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yep.
District 2?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Joint Ordinance 19, 2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette Mayor President to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government, the Louisiana Department of Treasury, and the State of Louisiana concerning Act 45 of 2020, Second Extraordinary Legislative Session of the Louisiana Legislature and amending the fiscal year 2021 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing reimbursement revenues from the State of Louisiana Department of Treasury in the amount of $500,000 and appropriating within the Public Works Department for road infrastructure improvement projects.
Can I get a motion and a second? Motion by Lazard, second by Nakhan. Council discussion? Sidra, actually, could I get a list of these projects? Perfect. Thank you. Any other council discussion? Not seeing any. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved. Joint Ordinance 20, 2021, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council suspending until October 1st, 2021, the enforcement provisions associated with the requirement that Class A restaurant conditional permit holders comply with certain provisions of Chapter 6, Article 1, Section 6-1 in the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Code of Ordinances.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion by Nakhan, second by Lewis. Council discussion? Not seeing any. Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Let's go to a vote.
District 5?
Yes.
District 1? District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
The motion to adopt is approved.
All right, introductory ordinances. I'm asking for a motion and a second from the council to introduce ordinances items 17 through 24 in globo. Can I get a motion and a second? Motion by Nakhan, second by Cook. Cindy, will you please read?
City Ordinance 55, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the Lafayette Development Code so as to reclassify the property of case number 0N-2021-0010, 119 St. Landry rezoning, located generally south of St. Landry Street, west of West University Avenue, and north of St. John Street, the particular parcel being rezoned from residential single-family to mixed-use neighborhood. City Ordinance 56, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council approving a conditional use permit to allow a dwelling two-family duplex in a residential single-family zoning district. Case number 0N-2021-0011, 141 Whittington Drive, conditional use permit, located generally south of Johnson Street, east of Catherine Street, and west of Oakcrest Drive. City Ordinance 57, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the Lafayette Development Code and the official map of the City of Lafayette, providing for the annexation of additional land into the corporate limits of the City of Lafayette, Louisiana. Case number 0N-2021-0012, 600 block South Domain Avenue annexation, located generally north of Ridge Road, east of South Domain Avenue, and south of Country Hollow Lane, and assigning a zoning classification of residential, single-family, and mixed-use neighborhood, District 2. City Ordinance 58, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and manning tables of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to provide for the salary for a permanent director of the Communications Administration and Support Division, LUS Fiber. City Ordinance 59, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Code of Ordinances, Chapter 62, offenses and miscellaneous provisions, specifically Article 1, crimes and offenses in City of Lafayette, particularly to add Section 62-33.2, unauthorized interest in or upon parks and playgrounds. City Ordinance 60, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing revenues in the amount of $27,926 received from the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement, authorizing the transfer of matching funds in the amount of $9,309 from Fund 101 and appropriating within the Lafayette Police Department. City Ordinance 61, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing revenues in the amount of $26,880 received from the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement, authorizing the transfer of matching funds in the amount of $6,720 from Fund 101 and appropriating within the Lafayette Police Department. City Ordinance 62, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget and capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of fund balance in Fund 101 and Fund 401 in the amount of $5,850,000 and appropriating within the Public Works Department Capital Improvements Division for additional funding needed for new drainage projects.
And that was it. All right. Council discussion on any of the items read in Globo. Not seeing any public comment on any of those items?
No, ma'am.
All right. Let's go to a vote to introduce in Globo items 17 through 24.
District 1?
Yeah.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
The motion to introduce in Globo is approved.
And with that, meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.